Hi, Steve here in my workshop in Bellevue. This is for the Mark 47520 Shopsmith channel. And I thought today I'm going to talk to you about one of the items, probably the first item you might want to consider getting after you finish the self-study course. When you were doing that course, you probably thought there's got to be some better ways of doing some of those assignments, particularly doing the Dados, the grooves, the Rabbets, because all you had was your table saw blade at that point to do it. And so a number of joints that can make a whole lot easier if you would upgrade and get yourself a Dado blade. And Scott Markwood has done 2 previous videos on Dado blades. I'm not going to repeat all the stuff that he did in his. He did a very thorough job of going through all the different types of Dado blades and showing you what the kind of different cuts they get from those blades. But I'm going to focus today on the blade. I think you just should get this blade that I'm going to show you and not worry about any others. And that is, you want to get a stacked Dado set. And this is a stacked Dado set here. And Scott in his video showed as one of the types to get. This is one of those items that I recommend you get. It's called buy once, cry once. Spend the money and get a really high quality stacked Dado set. Now, what do I mean by a high quality stacked Dado set? I mean one that when you do your cuts, that when you do your grooves, or if you do tongues for tenons, or do rabbets, or particularly do cross grain in plywood or any of that, you're going to get absolutely zero tear out at either the backside or the surface. That's what I mean by a high quality one. And there's not very many of them out there that'll do all of that. And right now, there are 2 different types that you can get out of the market. There's a standard Dado set, and there's one that's called for used for box joints. And I'll show you what a box joint is here. So this joint here, you see here, this is a box joint. And these got these fingers. These are cut on a Dado set, is what was done to cut these. And this particular one I did with a standard. I did not use with a box joint. But the difference is, I'm going to show you up here on the whiteboard what the difference is between the 2. And you come around here, put your camera up here on the whiteboard. I'll draw this so you can see. On a standard Dado, this is your board here. And this is your Dado. It's cut in it. Or a groove, it doesn't matter. The difference between a Dado is a cross grain, a groove is with the grain. I'll just do the box joint set. It'll give you a flat, perfectly flat bottom. This is here called for a box joint. You can buy Dado sets that are designed specifically to do these kind of cuts. For this, you will get a perfect fat bottom. You'll get no rounding on the corners, and you'll get a perfectly square on the edge. That's what you'll get for a box joint. Now, for standard, what happens on those is you will still get this like this. I'm exaggerating. Okay? You'll still get a flat bottom. You'll still get straight size, but there's a little bit of a going into the edge here at the bottom. Okay? And these standard ones, these are great if you're doing on plywood. Those will work great because they score the surface really nicely, but whichever one you want to do. So some people will buy 2 sets of Dado, stacked Dados, a box joint set, because they're doing these type of joints, and then they'll also have a standard set. There are some companies where you can get a set that will do both, and I'll show you what the difference here is. This here happens to be a standard one, which means it gets bottom like this. It's a company called Woodpeckers. And they have a line called Ultra Shear. You can buy this type, or you can buy a combination. Now, what do I mean by a combination? What they do for the combination is, the difference in these two sets is the outside blade. This is the outside blade, two outside blades. So for the standard set, it'll have this type of cutters on the outside. For the box joint set, it'll have this kind of cutters on the outside. So Woodpeckers has a set they'll sell you, which will give you an extra set of outside blades only, so that you can set it up for whichever way you want to do it when you do your cuts. Okay, the other company that makes these type that I recommend is forgot their name, is Forrest Manufacturing. That's the other company that does that makes both sides. Now, why do I recommend these two different companies? Now, you notice I have a CMT, okay? Now, I would recommend CMT if they still made this one, but they don't make this particular one anymore. This is a standard one, and I really like it, but CMT doesn't make this one anymore. But in any case, so Forrest and Wood, and the reason I recommend them both is because it's called on the outside of the blades, they have a negative 5 degree angle for how the teeth are put on the blade. And that's the key right there to getting your perfectly clean cuts on plywood, melamine, on everything. Most of the other ones, the less expensive ones, are not going to have that negative 5 angle on the outside. They'll have a positive 5 angle on the chippers. Okay, so your less expensive blades, they put positive 5 angle on all of them, including the outside ones. So that's the difference, and that's where you're paying your extra money. So in any case, so that's the dado stacks. So now once you've got your dado stack, then you can choose between a 6-inch and an 8-inch. I'll just tell you, Woodpeckers is only 8-inch only. That's all they sell. Forrest has a 6-inch and an 8-inch. Both. They also have a 10-inch and a 12-inch, which you won't ever need. But of course, you get the smaller one, it's costs you less money. So that's the deal there. So, all right. So now I'm going to show you how to set these up on your machine. You're going to need to have the 5/8-inch arbor that I have here, and the way, in fact, Scott Markwood showed on his video how to set these up, just making sure that you have the tongue washer on the outside when you do that. So what I do when I set mine up is, unless I'm doing a groove or a dado, then I need exact dimension. Well, when would I need that? Well, for example, I have this, if I got this piece of wood, which is, and I want it to fit exactly in a, like you see how that is, fits in exactly, it's perfectly tight, okay? That's when you've got to have that stacked dado at exact perfect setting. And it comes with shims with it. These are the shims that come with it so that you can dial in your exact thickness that you want to have by putting these at various places in between your blades. So they have 0.1 millimeter, 0.2, 0.3, and 0.5 millimeter as the sizes that come with on this particular set that I have. Okay, so once you have it set up, so as I said, I keep mine set, I just set it up at 3/4 all the time, unless I'm doing an exact specified one to accommodate one going in like that. But let's say I'm doing a dado, or I'm doing a rabbet or a tenon. Any of those, I just keep it set up this way all the time. And I'm going to set this up now and show you how I set it up on my machine. Right now it's set up for table saw, and I'll switch over and do some cuts on the Dado blade, show you that. Of course, you're going to want to take out your table saw insert after you take off your saw blade, because you're going to want to put the Dado table insert. Of course, this is the Dado one. Okay. And now we'll put this on here. Of course, you're going to make sure that the set screw is on the flat, just like we always do. Okay. Let me get a drink of water here. All right, so I'm going to just make sure when we drop the table that the stacked Dado is centered on the insert. You can see that down through as you drop it. We've got to put our chute in here so that it can drop down. There we go. That's right, good right there. Now I have a stop collar that I put in here previously to set my depth for the depth that I want. You're gonna, when you do it before you do the stop collar, you will measure your depth and get your depth just perfectly, just like when you're doing with a table saw, except you would do it with the stacked Dado. And then the next thing I do my 7-step safety check. Check all my trunnion, carriage, height, motor, quill. It's flat, it's perfectly on the floor, nothing on the extensions here, on the spindles. All right, so I always use the L fence. I know Scott likes to use a fence where you embed the Dado stack into it. I like this because there's more flexibility using the L fence, and you'll see as I use it some advantages to using the L fence. So I have this set for doing a 1/4 inch depth. So I'm just going to get, let's see, this is 3/16. Now that's 3/8. Let me see here. 1/4. 3/16 and an 1/8 makes 5/16. So this is my spacer. This will space my L fence where I want it. So that gives me a 1/16 inch of clearance between the top of my teeth and the bottom of my L fence is what that does. All right, so now the first thing I think I'll do for you, I'll do a simple rabbet. And I'm gonna try and do about a 1/2 inch wide rabbet on. Here's what I'll do. This is a 1/2 inch spacer here. I can feel the edge of that tooth and the edge of my spacer. Okay, so that'll give me a 1/2 inch wide rabbet. And I'll go ahead and cut that. Put on my eye protection, my ear protection. And I think I need to get a push block here. Here we go. Okay. Got my dust collection. And that dialing down, I had it up on saw speed, I dialed it down to the Dado speed is what I did. Now I'll try this again. So there's that rabbet. You can see there how clean it is. Okay. So next, I think out the rabbet, I'm going to do I just do a regular dado. Actually, no, with the setup here, let's see what I want to do next. Let's go ahead and do a tenon. So to do a tenon, of course, a tenon is just 2 rabbets on the end of a board. And let's see which one. I'll use this one here. I'm just going to put tenon on the end of this one. And for that, I'll need my miter grip. And for this, we're just going to butt that right up against the L fence. That'll get us our length. The length of our tenon will be a 1/2 inch. Okay, so there, now you can see the tenon. Now you can see here on the back side, I got a little tear out there, a little tear out there. Okay, the only way that you can keep that from happening, even on the best of Dado sets, is to have a backer board behind it. So I'll do it again on the other end, and I'll put a backer board behind it. So I'll just use this for a backer board, and we'll do that again. See, now this time, perfectly clean on the back side because I had the backer board there to keep that from doing tear out on the back side. Okay, so that's our tenon and our rabbet. Now for a groove, that's just straight down the middle. And I think what I'm going to do here is I have I think I'll just do a dado first. Dado is simple. We're just going to move this over, and we're doing that down the middle of the board. We're going to do a cross grain. And let's see. I think I'll do it on this one here. Just do a dado on, simple dado on here, on crosswise. And again, if we don't want to have tear out in the back side, I want to use a backer board. I'm going to turn on my dust collection for me, Dot. So here's our dado, cross grain. You see the surface on this, absolutely impeccably perfect on that. And we've got no tear out on back side or front side whatsoever on this. And so this was sized so that 3/4 inch will fit in there perfectly. See, there's no gap on either side because that was dialed in perfectly on the stacked dado. Okay, now I'll just do a groove down the middle like this one so you can see how that works with the L fence. Same thing. All I'm going to do here is I won't need my miter gauge anymore. Move this over. I'm just going to put the groove right there, approximately. And we'll use our push block on this one. Okay, so there's our groove. So I've done all 4. Now I'm going to do the same thing on plywood, so you can see how good a good stacked dado set is on plywood. Now this happens to be Baltic birch plywood here. And so first, let's just do, tell you what, I'm going to do a cross grain dado in the middle of it first. Then I'll do a with the grain groove. Then we'll go ahead and do set it up, do a rabbet, and then we'll do a tenon. Okay? So this is cross grain. Now look at how nice that surface is. See? Now this is on plywood. Now this is cross grain. Now I'll go with the grain. Here we'll go with the grain. Okay, that's with the grain. All right, so now let's do I'm going to do rabbets. I'll do on 2 sides. I'm going to go ahead and do a rabbet, and we'll set this for 1/2 inch like we did before. Okay, there. That's set for 1/2. So, okay, let's go ahead. First I'll do cross grain, then I'll do with the grain. Okay, this is our cross grain rabbet here. This is our with the grain rabbet. And now I'm going to do rabbets on either side so I can create tongues on either side so you can see that. Okay, So you've seen me do dados, grooves, rabbets, and tenons, all with the stacked dado. And you can see how much time it's going to save you. And probably on my next segment, I'm going to start going into frame and panel construction. And for that, the first one we'll be doing will be a simple stub tenon, which you can do with your dado stack. This is an example of it right here. I use just the two outside chippers only for a 1/4 inch down the middle, and then I put a stub tenon on the end, which then fits right in there like that. Okay, so you can see there's a lot of advantages to having a stacked dado set, but make sure you get a good one. Spend the money in the first place and get a good one. That's Steve here. Well, I showed the plywood already.
After you finish both sides?
Sure.
Well, there you go. Now you do.
But I guess she doesn't believe me, so.
I didn't see you show it.
Okay. Now this is the plywoods. This is the tongue here. The tongue here. This is the groove. This is the dado. Okay? All right. All right, so that's it for this time for Steve for Shopsmith Mark 47520. See you on the next one.